Hello, everyone in Facebook land. It's Mark and Elaine, and we're going to do another Facebook live stream for you. And hopefully this one we can actually share my screen. We got it set up as a Zoom call this time, so last time we were trying to like triple my monitor display, and my computer doesn't seem to want to let me do that, so yeah. So we're hoping it works better this time, and yeah. So, Kickstarter is just over $100 to the goal now, which is great. I'm really excited. And yeah, maybe we can get it funded during the course of this live stream. That'd be great. If anyone donates, if anyone donates at the physical book tier and above, I'll draw you like a little sketch of whatever you want live on stream here. But yeah, in the meantime here, I'm just working on some artwork for the back pages of the book, the last few pages. And if anyone has any questions about anything, I can answer those as well. Mark, do you have any questions we could kick off with?
Yeah, tell us, for anyone who's joining who doesn't know what the Kickstarter and the book is about, can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's for The Last Band on Earth, and it's a graphic novel I've been working on since 2019. And it's a dystopian / horror / action adventure story about a noise rock band trapped in a semi-post-apocalyptic city ruled by demons. And they want to escape the city so they can go on tour and whatever might be left of the world. And this whole thing may or may not be a metaphor for depression.
And so now that we're seeing your illustration live on screen, tell us a bit more about your digital tool set here. What is it that you're using to make this artwork?
Yeah, so I'm using a digital tablet monitor. It's not a Wacom Cintiq because I could never afford one of those. It's one of the Chinese knockoffs, so it's a Wion canvas, which I bought in 2019, and it's been going strong ever since, and I really, really like it. And I'm glad these things are finally affordable now. And then the software is Clip Studio Paint, which is really good for drawing comics. And if you haven't tried it, it goes on sale about 3 times a year, usually. So they just had a sale, so I'm guessing they'll probably have another one in spring or sometime. Yeah, every quarter. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you're interested in making comics on the computer. Well, there's a mobile version as well, but unfortunately it's a subscription. So I haven't tried that, but it would be nice to use it on the go. I have an iPad with Procreate as well, but I haven't really used that. Mostly I use that to do thumbnails. That's about it.
Okay, and what we're seeing here live is you're illustrating, so we can see the black appearing for what would, if this was physical media, like if you were drawing on paper, this would be inks, of course, and inks and shade.
No, this is my no. Actually, this is my final pencils layer. I'm going to do an ink layer on top of this. I mean, it's it's probably kind of silly because I end up drawing stuff 3 times when I really shouldn't. But yeah.
But so traditionally, comic book illustrators, and I know this from, of course, being married to you as a comic illustrator and having worked with you as well, in my capacity as a comic book writer, is that most illustrators for comics, for those who are unaware, do 2 rounds of pencils. One of them begins with either blue or red. It seems to be that comic artists either choose blue or red as their starting colour. Can you tell us why that is?
Yeah, so the blue or red, it's usually blue because most, well, in the past, photocopiers were used to reduce the artwork, and most of those could knock out the blue lines, and there was a special type of blue pencil called non-photo blue that a lot of people used. So that's why the blue was used for like the underdrawing, and then black for the final pencils. Yeah. And then, yeah, the other purpose of doing the blue pencil layer is, it's sometimes called the breakdowns layer, I guess. It's just to, yeah, get your rough concept on paper. So I do my thumbnails in Procreate, and then I bring those in Clip Studio, and I draw right over them. I blow them up, and I draw directly over them. I draw my roughs and then my final pencils. And as you can see, my pencils are very tight. maybe tighter than they need to be. Because that's just kind of how I draw.
And so something that's interesting here is traditionally, if this was on comic board and done physically, you would erase those pre pencils right after you've inked and let the ink dry. But here, all you're going to do is you've got an undermask for or a layer, a masked layer underneath all of your black pencils and inks, and you'll just essentially make those invisible, turn them off.
Yeah, and I'll do that so everybody can see. I'll turn off my thumbnail. You probably can't see that because it's at like 40% opacity, and then I'll turn off my blue.
Yeah.
And then I've got a perspective grid here as well. I'll turn that off.
But essentially, once you've finished your inking, that you would just switch that stuff underneath off rather than erasing it.
Yep.
And then, so it's so much faster and more streamlined.
It does, yeah. It does. Well, it's both faster and not, because I sort of, with every brush at my disposal, I tend to sort of go overboard, and I also I go over, if I don't get an ink line exactly perfectly the way I want, I do it again and again and again and again and again. I really should not be doing that. But yeah, I still have some bad habits I have to break, but like, yeah, I think in the long run it does save some time as opposed to doing it traditionally. Does anyone know where this is in Saskatoon?
I know where that is, so I won't comment unless somebody wants to ask.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint. The Broadway neighborhood.
No, it's not Broadway.
Oh, no, okay, it's the other place I thought.
It's the picture I took yesterday, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So ignore me then.
And then I made up a fictional parking meter in the foreground there. We don't have parking meters like that anymore.
Yeah, used to.
Yeah.
Used to for coin up, but
it's like a combination of an old and a modern one, because I added a tiny little solar panel on the back, which probably wouldn't do much good in real life, but never mind, it's fine. It's not real. It doesn't have to make sense.
So just while Elaine works here, I'm just going to, what we're seeing on camera here is the tech that Elaine discussed before, the tablet that Elaine can illustrate on is the one that she is illustrating on right there. You've got a touch sensitive pen that works with that. This is an active pen, so it needs to be charged. There is a newer model with a passive pen that doesn't need to be charged, but
Actually, this one, the original ones it came with, had to be charged, and this one actually has a battery, so it takes AAA batteries.
Right, but that would still
Yeah.
make it an active pen.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's an active pen, so it's like thermodynamics to make it work if you want to get really sciencey about it. But yeah, that's essentially what's happening there. And that is what feeds into Elaine's laptop and feeds into the software that Elaine was talking about as well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So this is a page right from the end of the book, right?
Yep. I don't think it spoils anything. Hopefully not. I don't know. I guess I don't worry as much about that as I should either.
And just while Elaine is working away on screen here, and you can see that artwork coming together, I'll let you know that my name is Mark. I'm a collaborator on the Kickstarter. If you know me, you know me. I'm not the star of the show here. I'm not important. But
Well,
what you do...
I would argue you are, but
Well, I mean,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, thank you, but yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not
but
important.
you put most of the Kickstarter page together. You did the video, and yeah, so.
But what I primarily want to let you know is that I'm going to narrate a couple of things here, ask a couple of questions. I also want to let you know, don't be shy. Drop your questions in as comments on the live stream here, and I will ask them out to Elaine live. And also, I just want to let you know that if you haven't supported the Kickstarter yet, if we've piqued your interest at all with this live stream, go ahead and view the link in the description of this live stream. Ideally, open it as another tab if you're on desktop so that you don't lose us here in the live stream. And but if you do lose us in the live stream, that's fine. I'm sure Elaine...
Right back anytime.
Yeah, I'm sure Elaine would appreciate your support either way.
Yeah.
And you can always come back to us, like Elaine says, we might be here for a while. And I'll ask some things out live to keep this interactive, entertaining, engaging, whatever. But do feel free to ask your questions. Don't be shy. We only bite upon request.
That's right. Mark, why don't you tell everybody about that band we were listening to earlier?
Oh, yeah. So I guess when we tried to do the initial stream, that the tech didn't work on. And thanks for joining us if you did join us for that one and for putting up with that. But you know, tech is a whole thing. But anyway, we started talking about music that we've been listening to. And one of the ones I discovered, and I'm a big hardcore fan, like hardcore punk, right? As well as metal. But I think what got me into metal was punk and then eventually hardcore punk. And I'm of the era where it started to become New York hardcore with the screaming vocals, but it was still like, quote, hardcore. And what I mean by that is the lyrical content always was always supposed to be about, because this is what hardcore is about, always supposed to be about questioning everything that's wrong with the world. And not many hardcore bands are like that nowadays. And then I found Stray from the Path, and wowee, are they good. Holy. Listen to a single called Free, which is from the album Euthanasia. Little bit of a maybe a triggering album title there, but however you feel about that, that's what the album title is. It won't change. You know, not to be rude, but it won't change however we feel about it. But Free is like this single that very much questions in a very pointed way, and I mean very pointed, about things that have maybe been ineffective or maybe a little bit caustic within the world of policing. That's the most polite way I can put that, without triggering any debates or arguments.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess I won't say it, but.
But if you want to look it up, if you're into hardcore, please do go and do that. It addresses. I mean, it does. They do everything from like Black Friday, questioning why we do this all the time with all this. Consumerism is necessary to a certain point, but then there's that Black Friday thing of like, why, man?
Yeah.
Just why?
Anyway, it's good. You should listen to it. I will definitely listen to more later. And I always say I'm going to do that, and I never actually do. This time I'm actually going to do it.
And if you're into the world of metal, if you followed System of a Down at all, and we discussed this on the other live stream, Chavo, who was the bassist, I've never known his full name. Everyone just knows him by his nickname, Chavo. He has got a new band called 7 Hours After Violet, and that is just awesome. So something that we covered on the previous stream that I should ask again is, while you're working away here, why music and comics, why music and mental health, why that narrative?
Well, I guess I've always kind of used music as therapy, listening to music, and to a lesser degree playing music. I'm not really very good at that. I guess I'm reasonably okay at piano, but I haven't played for a long time. And I kind of like stories about fictional bands and that sort of thing. Like one of the reference points for this book is a graphic novel adaptation of the movie Hardcore Logo, which I discovered when I was a teenager, and it's one of my favorite graphic novels. It was a big influence on me. And they reprinted it in about 2018, so you can actually go and buy it again now. It's called Portrait of 1,000 Punks. And yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, I'd recommend the movie as well. Starring Hugh Dillon from the Headstones, who has been in many other things since, but I feel like that was the first thing. That's the first thing I remember seeing him act in, at least.
That was certainly his breakout role.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot of people remember it now, though.
I mean, certainly within Canada anyway. And I would argue that he kind of broke out in the States as an actor, but not really. Not really,
yeah. I think they really tried to make Flashpoint a thing in the States. I don't know if it ever happened, although that also had some American actors in it. So maybe they did. Anyway, yeah.
And for anyone watching, Hardcore Logo began its life as a novel. I've read the novel. It was just fantastic.
I still haven't read the novel, actually. I have to do that, yeah.
It's so far departed from the graphic novel and the movie, but it is also not. It's also exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And what's so unique about it is it's written like a diary, but a diary written by somebody who's barely got the time to write it because they're on tour, driving non-stop all across Canada. And if you've ever driven across Canada, even if you're not from the country, and you've driven from one province to the next, you know how long the drives are. And so imagine doing that going on tour as a small punk band. But also some trivia, it was directed by Bruce MacDonald, the movie. Bruce MacDonald also did the adaptation of another Canadian, very well-known novel, a horror novel called Pontypool. The movie is fantastic. The novel is like an acid trip, both good and bad in that sense. It stuck with me, so very good, but also like trying to read it at the time, you come away with a bit of a headache, actually, to be quite frank. And
that's a really good movie. I really like it because it feels like a stage play.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there is a stage play version because most of it takes place in the same room, but it still feels really rich.
Yeah.
and what's the word? It has a strong sense of place.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
But another piece of trivia for people watching who aren't familiar with Canadian movies, and go and become familiar with Canadian movies because there are so many gems of movies that become famous in Canada, maybe a little bit outside, but never quite connect with the world, and it's such a shame. But anyway, go and check out those two movies, Hardcore Logo and Pontypool, because they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially if you're into horror movies, Pontypool, like, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't check it out. And if you're into hardcore and punk like me, Hardcore Logo is just wow. But anyway, another piece of trivia is that many people around the world will know the punk band Billy Talent. Well, hard rock, arguably. I guess they were a little bit punk for a while there.
Kind of emo, I guess.
Yeah.
Although not what I think of as emo, but yeah, that's what became known as emo.
But
yeah.
they know the band Billy Talent. Now, the name Billy Talent actually comes from the novel Hardcore Logo and eventually the movie Hardcore Logo.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a piece of trivia from you. I don't think they say that on the website, and I don't think they'll ever say that because I'm not sure if
it's one of those if you know things, I guess. Yeah.
I'm guessing. I'm guessing, and I don't mean to throw anyone under the bus here, but I'm guessing that they didn't seek licensing before using the name.
I don't know if you have to do that though. I don't know.
I don't think you do, but I think
so.
it's grey area. So I think that's why they never allude to the fact that, oh, by the way, it came from this very unique Canadian novel called, or novella, I guess, because it's quite short, Hardcore Logo. So tell us about the page you're illustrating here.
So this is the band on stage wearing demon masks. And I won't say anything else about that. I've got all my dialogue layers clicked off, so you can't read the dialogue, because that would spoil it. So now I have to figure out how to draw a person wearing a mask, because I haven't done that many times in my life. That's what my phone is for, if you were wondering.
So I guess many people who aren't familiar with the comic creation process, that's a good thing to discuss, aren't familiar with the idea of reference. I guess a lot of people think that you're just so talented that you just draw stuff from your head and that's it.
Well, but, I wish. I mean, I try to do roughs out of my head as much as I can, but yeah, to really get the finer points of what something looks like, I need reference. Yeah.
So tell us about reference and about the different ways that you get reference.
Mostly I look up things on the internet and sort of try to rotate them in my head to the angle, whatever I'm drawing, that sort of thing. If it's a particularly complex object, sometimes I use a 3D model, because you can import those into Clip Studio and draw over them. Tracing. It is okay to trace sometimes. Everybody does it. That is a pro tip for you, if you want, because that's the thing. If you want to get really fast at drawing comics, then you have to find shortcuts where you can, and I confess I'm not very good at that, and that's why this book has taken as long as it has. But yeah, anyway, reference can come from anywhere and anything, pretty much.
Some interesting things that I'll interject about references. That's also why animators, especially the ones who are doing the actual illustration in animation and the 3D animation work and modeling and stuff, they'll always have like a small, almost like makeup style mirror next to their workstation, is so that they can look at themselves for facial expressions.
I do that, and I also use it for my hands. I'm right-handed, so if I want to draw a right hand, I use a mirror to reverse it, and then suddenly it's a right hand. Yeah. And
something that's becoming popular for illustrators are those small, malleable, I guess would be the word, bodycon models.
Oh, those are good too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like little. little marionette dolls that are fully articulated on the joints, and they will actually stay in the positioning you put them in. And you can change out the hands for like hands that are flat, hands that are holding stuff, holding firearms, swords, that kind of thing. And yeah, they're becoming increasingly popular. It's, I think, called Bodycon is because it was originally designed for mangaka, and I'm not sure how successful it was because it was then ported over to the West.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it was, or they wouldn't have ported it here. Yeah, I really like those. My only complaint is they're not quite as posable as you might think, considering they do have quite a few articulation points.
Yeah.
And so I actually broke the arm off one of mine accidentally because I tried to bend it too far. And yeah, I've heard other people say, oh yeah, those things are kind of flimsy, aren't they? But they're like, yeah, they're still really, really good, particularly if I'm trying to do a really foreshortened pose and I have no idea how to do that and I can't find a reference for it. That's what I use those for. Sometimes I will take a picture of it with my phone too, just because like if I'm trying to draw the actual object, it's sort of hard unless I close one eye and then I have no depth perception if I close one eye. So yeah, when you're viewing it in stereo with both eyes, it's quite difficult. So like sometimes a phone camera picture is better, even though that flattens it out. Yeah.
So just as we were waiting to go live there, we had the holding screen. I also played those little snipes that we had during that, just to give a shout out to them and make sure we credit them. Who was the creator of those?
So it was Disco from the Cartoonist Co-op. Unfortunately, I don't know their social handles, so I'll try to find those and maybe link those in the description later when we post this recording on YouTube. Yeah, but yeah, those are awesome. I'm really excited about those. So thank you, Disco. Thank you to the Cartoonist Co-op for helping me out with a promotional campaign for this Kickstarter. They've already done a lot of stuff for me that would have been difficult for me to do on my own while I'm still trying to finish the artwork for the book. Well, and like, you know, to say nothing of the quality of those videos, like I could never have done anything like that. I don't know anything about video editing. And Disco also made me a bunch of promotional graphics which look really great, and again they look better than the ones I made myself. I made a couple of them and then I kind of ran out of gas after making a couple.
Just while Elaine's working away on illustrating now, I'll just let you all know that the Kickstarter is currently only $115 away from its goal. And if you have just joined us, then I'll just remind you that the link to the Kickstarter is in the description. And of course, Elaine thanks you if you do jump over there and support.
Yeah, I'd really appreciate your support. And Mark, you said that once it's funded, it might get a boost on the site, the Kickstarter site, or is that only if I had funded within the first 48 hours?
This might have changed, but I noticed when I did my Kickstarters, and I think my last one was like 2019, I noticed that once it got funded, days out from it finishing, that it got a bump in the discoverability. It didn't make it onto Projects We Love or anything like that, but it certainly became more discoverable.
Yeah.
And discoverability, what I mean by that is not people directly searching for it, because those people wouldn't have been aware of the project anyway.
Yeah.
What I mean is when you go in, you're on Kickstarter and you're a comic book fan, and you go and you back a project or you're interested in the project, and you scroll down to the bottom there, it shows you 3 other projects that you might be interested in. I believe what happened is it started appearing in those.
Yeah, cool. And those are ones that are funded, yeah, I've noticed. So
Yeah.
All right. That's cool. And I don't know if I'm eligible for the Project We Love badge anymore, since I didn't fund within the first 48 hours, but I'm not sure. That might have more to do with raising a certain amount of your total within the first 48 hours.
That I couldn't
And
tell
also,
you.
I think I have to email somebody about it. Those are given out by a real person. So, yeah, I might have to email the comics outreach person. Again, I did email that person because, well, for an unrelated thing, yeah. But yeah, I guess I could do that again. So yeah, I guess I've known for a while that, oh yeah, Kickstarter is a really good way to generate buzz about a project, but now that I'm actually doing it, it's like, oh yeah, I probably should have done one of these a while ago, but it's like, I was too afraid. I was too afraid, oh, I'm not going to raise enough money, oh no, and then it'll be so embarrassing, oh no. So here I am, I'm finally doing it, and now I'm thinking, in the future, if I want to print a small run of a short comic that I've done, I could very easily do like a 2-week Kickstarter for that to raise like $500 or something. So yeah, this is good. This is exciting. And then I've got that built-in list of people who supported the first one. I can continue to write updates for this ad nauseum, like some people do.
Yeah, it's arguably one of the best newsletter platforms you can have.
Yeah, no kidding.
So if you're a younger creator watching this, Kickstarter comes really recommended, essentially, because it's a good way of expanding expanding what you currently have in terms of your outreach, and it's a really fantastic way to essentially have a newsletter to people that have decided to follow you and back you.
Yeah. I do have a newsletter separate from this, though, that I try to get people to follow every so often. I'll probably send out I'll write another one towards the end of the Kickstarter just to remind people who've signed up for that about it. Yep.
So what you see in the lane do on camera there is find reference images
Yep.
for continuing with the
I can't seem
illustration.
to find any good ones, unfortunately, for people wearing Halloween masks, but yeah, I guess I'll figure something out here. Yeah, most of the time I just kind of have to fudge it.
And
Because I can't find exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah.
And if you have just joined us, I'm not a disembodied voice. I'm not AI. I am actually a real person off screen. Just running the live stream here for Elaine. And I'm going to be continuing to ask Elaine questions just while we're waiting for any viewer questions to come in. If you do have viewer questions, drop them in the comments of the live stream here, and I'll read them out.
Okay, I could probably take advantage of my layers for this actually, so I'm going to do that. Which means I'll probably have to redraw the entire thing, but whatever, it's fine.
So while you're illustrating now, I'm just going to ask you another question. And that is that, there's an interesting link here between doing a music and mental health comic and you just illustrating and doing comics in general, because your introduction into publishing your own comics was actually through doing illustration of music comics. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Do you mean the Ultimate Power Duo comic?
And your Marquis Smith stuff.
Oh, wow, I forgot about that actually. Yeah, well, so, I mentioned this in the previous live stream. So the original version of Last Planet Earth was called New Edge, and this is that. So I made this when I was 17 in high school. And it wasn't a comic, it was a zine, because it had record reviews in the back, and I thought I was so cool. I was really obsessed with reading Pitchfork, and I wanted to write my own record reviews. And then the comic is in the front. And so, I'll give that to you so you can hold it closer to the camera. So it's a similar story, except the characters are all furries, and they're trapped in this city that they can't escape from, but it's not really clear why or what it is. And I never quite figured out where it was going after that, so I only completed the one issue. And I always kind of wanted to come back to it and actually figure out what was going on. So, here I am doing that. Finally, after all these years.
Also, thanks, Blaine, for your comment. That's awesome.
Oh, anyway, Mark mentioned the Marquis Smith comic. So that was the comic I did after New Edge, and that was a fan fiction about Ian Curtis from Joy Division coming back from the dead and cavorting around present-day Manchester with Marquis Smith. And it was very stupid. But it was fun to write though and draw because they hated each other and they played off each other really well. Not in real life. I have no idea if they ever met in real life, but they could have. But and this comic was just they bicker like an old married couple essentially the entire way. So I actually collaborated on that with a writer from San Francisco, I think, that I met on DeviantArt. Remember DeviantArt when it wasn't just AI slop? That was nice. That was fun. I miss DeviantArt.
It always fascinates me that people in major areas such as San Francisco and somewhat bigger cities in Canada like Saskatoon are fascinated by these really, really indie, independent acts from the UK in terms of music. Oh
yeah, I should mention also that person, her name was Roz, was the only other person I've ever encountered who had heard of My Dad Is Dead, who I was talking about in the previous stream. And also, she was also really into the Chameleons, another UK post-punk band from the 80s.
Okay, so tell us about the bands that inspired the fictional band in the comic, the Dead Layaways.
Well, I don't know. I guess, like, I have a playlist I made, basically. I made it for Pierce, the guy who wrote the lyrics in the book, to say, like, this is sort of what I envisioned them sounding like. So here's some inspiration for you for both music and lyrics. So I say they're noise rock, but I guess there are elements of other things there too. So some post-hardcore and some math rock and stuff like that. So you probably nobody watching this knows what math rock is. So basically that's kind of difficult music in a weird, usually in a weird time signature with really dissonant sounds, and it's usually instrumental. And sometimes it sounds a bit jazzy too. So the one math rock band I really like is Turing Machine, who broke up a long time ago, like probably 20 years ago at this point. And I also really liked Judah 44, who were I think some of the same members were also in a band called The Shipping News, who I also really liked. And yeah, so that's math rock. And then so my absolute favorite weird noisy band, noise adjacent band, is Thinking Fellers Union Local 282. So they were also from San Francisco, although half of them were from Iowa apparently. And so they were active from the late 80s until about 1996, although they did actually release another album in 2001, but they'd basically broken up already by that point. So it's hard to describe what they sound like because nobody else really sounds like them. They're just like, they're so weird, but they're so good. and like sometimes they'll have like a song that's so noisy and weird and you're like, what on earth was that? And then the next song will be completely normal, something that you could hear on the radio even. And they will have like these little interstitial bits between songs that are like fragments of other songs, or they sound like they could be fragments of other songs, and indeed sometimes they did develop them into full songs. Or they'll just be like weird dialogue. There was another band from DC called Pitch Blend who actually stole that idea, the interstitials between songs. I did really like Pitch Blend as well. I listened to them a lot before I got into Thinking Fellers. Whoops, no, I don't want to open Xbox Live, go away. Yeah, so if you are interested in Thinking Fellers Union, you should definitely check them out. They actually released a new compilation last October. So you can get that on Bandcamp. I don't know if they still have any of the physical ones left. But yeah, I got one. And I got the digital one as well. They're really good. If you like guitars that sound like a chair being dragged across the floor, guitars with really floppy strings, basically any stringed instrument played with any object also. Yeah. Sometimes horns, sometimes violins. If you like, again, I'm trying to think of some reference points here. If you like Captain Beefheart, if you like early Brian Eno, so Here Come the Warm Jets. If you like Sonic Youth, I don't really like to compare them to Sonic Youth because I don't think they sound that similar, but that's like, the closest thing that people have actually heard of. If you like The Residents, if you like Animal Collective list Thinking Fellers as a huge influence, and they got them to reunite for All Tomorrow's Parties 2011. And that's the last. I think that's the last time they played together. Nope. They played one show together this year, incredibly. So, yeah. So if you like any of that stuff, I'd recommend Thinking Fellers. They're my favorite. But I might have a problem. I might have a hyperfixation. Yeah. They're so good, and nothing else really scratches that itch. It's kind of, yeah, it's amazing, but also frustrating when you find a band that literally sounds like nothing else on earth, because it's like, oh, I gotta find something else that scratches this itch, and I can't.
I mean, hey, good music is good music.
That's right. Yeah. Oh yeah, I should mention one time I was playing Thinking Fellers down here on the stereo, The Mother of All Saints, the album, and you asked what I was listening to because you could hear it from upstairs, and I told you, and whenever somebody asks me that, it's usually not because they think the music is good. And you said it sounded like a man having an argument with a chainsaw. So there you go. And I said, yes, just the way I like it. Yeah, what other reference points? The first album by Preoccupations, for the band formerly known as Viet Cong, is really good, and I picture this band in my book sounding a bit like that too. I think they released a few other things. I haven't listened to any of them because I'm like, nah, nothing's ever going to be as good as that first album. I just know it. I know it. I'm just going to be disappointed. And people have asked me, how do you find out about all this music? I don't know. I used to be like obsessed with finding new obscure bands. The more obscure, the better. And yeah, again, I spent a lot of time on Pitchfork, and they used to have forums. I spent a long time on. That's probably how I discovered a lot of this stuff. And yeah, I guess I don't work as hard to do that now, and I don't discover a lot of new stuff. I think this is true of a lot of people our age. We're mostly listening to the same music that we listened to in our 20s or younger.
I remember it's become harder actually now to find new stuff.
It kind of feels like that, yeah, because there's so much, I get overwhelmed and I don't know where to start.
Well, yeah, my argument would be for the algorithm. Just to use an umbrella term, but for YouTube, Spotify, all of that, it wants you to stay in the same echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember how easy it was to discover new stuff back when there were internet radio stations. Do you remember those?
Yes, I didn't make a lot of use of those, but yeah, they were pretty good. That's how I discovered QuickSpace. Yeah.
Live FM too. You could find a whole bunch of new stuff through Live FM.
Oh, you mean Last FM?
Last FM, sorry. Yeah,
I didn't use that, but that actually still exists.
Yeah, well,
although probably not for much longer.
It's now more of like a music aggregator than it.
Oh,
more
okay.
Yeah. It's kind of more like here's some information on the band. It's like a music Wikipedia almost.
Oh, okay, all right. Like all music.
Yeah, but yeah, what Last FM used to be was amazing. Yeah.
I'm going to hate myself for drawing all these lapel badges, but here we go. I never know what to put on those. You think I'd be better at that? And this is still just my rough. I'm still not even doing the final pencils. How ridiculous is this? Yeah. I'm still spending all this time. Yeah. This might as well be the final pencils layer at this point.
Just a quick reminder as well, don't be shy about asking questions. If you want any questions answered live about the comic creation process, about the comic book series The Last Band on Earth, which is what the Kickstarter is for, or anything else in between, or even if you just want to interact with the stuff that we discuss here live as well, just drop in comments and I can read them out live. So just type it out as a comment in the live stream here and I will ask it out live. I believe as well we linked to this being a thing through the Kickstarter, and there might be some people watching who don't have a Facebook account. If, I don't know how you would get a question to us, you can even drop it as a comment on the Kickstarter page itself and I can read it out. Something that I will add as well, if anyone's interested in the video and live streaming side of this, if you're a creative who works in the video side of things or wondering how I'm doing this, I don't have a way of physically showing you through the live stream, but I'm using OBS, the online broadcast software, and that is a free to use software. It's open source. You can find that, I believe it is just obs.com or openbroadcastsoftware.com. It's one of those. Google search it. I believe if there's one that says .net after it, don't use that one because that's the one that that a certain hacking group tried to hack. And anyway, use the one that says .com. Then, as well as that's the software I'm using, so I can do the vision mixing through that. So, for example, I can switch over to camera, switch back to the live artwork. And you have to add in the audio streams for each channel that you're on, so each video channel essentially. For the camera, I'm using a Fujifilm X-T30, so quite a professional mirrorless camera with quite a professional grade lens on there, with a HDMI cable running out of it, so specialized HDMI. It's a micro HDMI or HDMI type B, I believe is what that is. Go into a full-size HDMI on the other end and a video capture card going into the laptop. There's then wireless microphones on Elaine and I. And then to get this live stream artwork in there, normally we'd be able to do a USB-C to HDMI cable into another video capture card out. That wasn't possible this way, so this is actually done through a Zoom call and then screen share is what you're seeing there. So, you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And
yeah, that's cool. You should make a video about that.
Yeah,
a video about how to make videos.
So that's essentially how we're doing this. And then on Facebook you can get a stream key, so when you go live you've got the option of doing either webcam or streaming software is the other option, and then that stream key that you see come up is what you copy and paste into your stream settings in OBS, and voila, you can go live. You can change all your frame rates and stuff like that. because I've got my camera, the Fujifilm X-T30, set to 24 frames a second. I have to have this set to 24 frames a second. And anyway, that's the waffle on that.
Yeah.
So for anyone who missed it at the start there, tell us about the software that you're using, the hardware that you're using to make this artwork right now.
Yeah, so I'm using Clip Studio Paint, which is kind of like Photoshop, but better for drawing. geared more towards drawing and specifically drawing comics. So, for example, it has tools for making panel borders and balloons and perspective grid tools and a bunch of other like ruler tools, which I believe Photoshop still does not have. Modern Photoshop, you need a plug-in for that to do that in Photoshop. Oh, hey, we've reached goal. Hey.
Oh, fantastic.
Fantastic.
So, what we mean by meeting the goal is on the Kickstarter here, we've passed the threshold of what Elaine was looking to fund it for.
Awesome.
So do you have any, with that being said, do you have any message for the supporters and fans of your work?
Yeah, thank you so much. I couldn't have done this without you. I truly did not think I would reach the goal this quickly. I thought that I would be struggling to do it all month, to be quite honest with you. So this is really good. This is a massive ego boost. Thank you so much, everybody. And I'll still be promoting it all month long because I want to make over and above the goal. I have one stretch goal. If we reach $5,000, everybody who backed at the physical book tier gets a Last Band on Earth themed sticker sheet. And so far I don't have any other stretch goals, but I guess that depends. That depends how much farther we get.
So that's fantastic. You saw that live. You saw that happen live here on the stream, that we passed the goal for the Kickstarter. I should really say that Elaine passed the goal for the Kickstarter. And and the reason people always look for stretch goals, I know that you're looking to meet the goal, and it might seem like that's really it from the outside if you've never run a Kickstarter before. But Kickstarter, they are a company that are in this for money, to make profit, like any business. And that's fine. But what that means is that they take a percentile away from it. So
yes.
You're always looking to
so
get...
that is another very good reason to make over and above the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a way to help that happen, if you're watching this and want to help, share it with like-minded friends. If you know friends who are into punk music, mental health stories, comics, share it around with them.
Kind of off the beaten path, graphic novels, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a way to help if you want to do that, because that helps buffer what will be lost to Kickstarter. It essentially is what I'm getting at there. And
exactly.
So, just to read out to you here, Elaine, Paul Northcott passes on his congratulations for having met the goal.
Thank you, Paul.
And thank you for taking the time to watch live from the UK. I believe it's around, I don't think the fallback has happened yet for the changing of the clocks.
So it's about 9 p.m., yeah?
I think it's about 9 p.m. So yeah, thank you for watching live.
Thank
We
you.
do appreciate that.
Thank you for listening to me ramble on about thinking fellers for 10 minutes. and utterly fail to describe them.
I would suspect as somebody who, I can't remember if works in currently, or at least has worked in, a record store in Edinburgh there, I think Paul is probably very interested in that discussion.
Well, we have talked about Thinking Fellers before, and I think he likes them well enough, but not not on the level that I do. He is definitely aware of them, yeah.
Paul says, I'm in a bit of an energy crash right now, but it's nice listening in.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
It has been so long, Paul. We hope the next time we're in the UK that we get to see you and hang out again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I know last time we were there was Christmas break, and that's a whole thing where you're just never going to get the time to get away, but hopefully we will get to see you again.
Yeah.
And Paul adds, Thinking Fellas used to get played a lot by John Peel.
Yes, they probably did a few Peel sessions too, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So John Peel, what an amazing guy. He lived and died in Bury St Edmunds, actually, so I'm from Suffolk.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
I'm from Suffolk, and he started out BBC Radio. I think he started in the Midlands, actually, like Birmingham way, and then moved to Suffolk, but then was on Radio Suffolk before being on the national BBC Radio.
Cool.
And there's actually like a big plaque to him in Bury St Edmunds, like a brass plaque.
Oh, that's cool. We should go see that the next time we're there. Why have you not brought me to see this already?
So the reason that Napalm Death even became a thing, like the grindcore band Napalm Death, the reason they even took off at all and just didn't keep being a garage band or like a small pub band, as they'd be called in the UK, is because of John Peel.
Yeah.
John Peel.
That's cool.
John Peel would go into the most extreme of metal.
I would not have thought that he was a fan of stuff like that. I guess he was a fan of everything.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
He would go into everything. Yeah. There was no hallowed ground. It was fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, he was a huge champion of the fall.
Yeah.
Always different, always the same. That's what he said about them. Now I've reached the part where I really don't know what I'm doing. So now that we reach goal, I wonder if there's going to be a snowball effect. And now that people see, oh, this project is happening, better get in on this while I can.
Yeah, I think so. So long as it appears in the recommended things when you click on any given comic book project, then
Yes.
you'll get people who see the confidence of, well, this is backed already, so
Yes.
if they look at it and decide they like it, they'll back because of the confidence that it's going to happen.
Yes. But also now I can finally unclench my jaw, and maybe I can take a step back from promoting it quite so aggressively everywhere every day, which is nice. It's a hard thing to promote myself constantly on the internet, and I worry that people don't like that, but I mean, it is what it is. I got to do it. Oh, I'm going to need to find a reference for this or something. Okay. It's been an hour. Do we want to keep going?
I was just about to ask you, let me know when you want to wind down.
Yeah, maybe I'll start winding down now.
Okay. All right, I'll let you do a sign-off message to everyone.
Yeah, so thanks so much, everybody. Again, I didn't think we'd be funded this quickly. This is really exciting, and again, it bodes well for the rest of the campaign. We still have like 26 days left, and it also it means good things for the future. I will definitely be using Kickstarter again to do smaller scale projects. And yeah, thanks for coming to the stream and hanging out with us. It's been great. So we will catch you all another time later. And if you are in Saskatoon, I'm going to be at Amazing Stories tomorrow afternoon from 1 to 3 p.m. And Jody and I are going to be hosting a build your own guitar workshop. So she is going to supply cardboard and other materials for building your own cardboard guitar. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope to see you there. So yeah, see you later.